People invested in Tesla may not be as willing to accept the consequences of Musk's actions, including Gerber Kawasaki CEO Ross Gerber.
As a shareholder, it's absolutely outrageous, his behavior and the damage he's caused to the brand. Simple as that.
And joining us now is a Tesla shareholder, Kristin Hull, founder and CIO of NIA Impact Capital, and Americus Reed is a marketing professor at UPenn's Wharton School of Business. He is also a CNBC contributor. Let me begin with you, if I might, Kristin, because you condemn Musk's recent post on X that confirmed and agreed with anti-Semitic views. He said you said, among other things, this type of behavior is predictable from Musk. It is nonetheless dangerous. This type of antagonistic behavior by a CEO would typically result in the board of directors taking serious punitive action. Why do you continue to hold the shares?
That's such a good question. Thanks for having me today. So just to be clear, we did hold the shares for a long time in our core portfolios, and yet with other recent news of racial discrimination and the allegations happening both in California and New York, we removed the shares from all exposure to client portfolios last year. That being said, we do hold some shares because as an investor, it's both our right and our responsibility to speak up for the issues that matter. And in this case, they really do need an investor to push that board to do what is right.
Why can't you divest the shares and still speak up as an interested party, as a major investment firm who has been a holder in the company and has decided to pull out of the holding of those shares because of the behavior of the owner?
Oh, that's a technical issue. So we file shareholder resolutions with the SEC, and it's a requirement to hold the shares to be able to do that. And so that is why we have to have them to be able to file a shareholder resolution and to appear on the proxy ballot.
Well, filing a resolution is one thing, but complaining to the board would be totally separate, and you could still do that, obviously.
Absolutely. And we do. We have written letters to the board, and we're part of a coalition of other investors who are also co-signing letters to the board as well. They have not been answered.
Thank you, Kristin. Americus, what should the board do in this case? And it seems, I'm going to editorialize here because this is infuriating stuff. He either needs to shut up or grow up or both.
Yeah, it's a great point, Tyler, and great to be here with you and Kelly. I think that it's an important point here to be made that, you just can't go off willy-nilly in making these kinds of comments. I think it's quite interesting when you're in a situation where you're not doing any real advertising for your companies. Your advertising is really conflated with your personal opinions on a social platform that you own. You can run into trouble when you're sort of giving comments off the cuff and things of that nature. And I think this is obviously very, very dangerous and just a silly kind of unforced, unnecessary, self-inflicted wound because you're trying to grow the business. You're trying to build ad revenue. And so from that point of view, to put yourself in harm's way where companies will come out and say, hey, listen, like IBM said, we're going to suspend our advertising efforts with you until we can figure all this out. It just makes no sense from a business and strategic point of view. And I think boards need to come out and be really adamant with respect to signaling to Elon that this kind of behavior is just not going to cut it.
Kristin, let's show shares of Tesla, which the last time I saw were higher today for all of the pushback against Musk and people suggesting that they sell if they're unhappy with him. They're up about 1%. Also, they're up about 5% since Musk bought Twitter, and they're up 41% since that interview just heard a snippet from when Musk spoke with David Faber and said, I will say what I want, and if the consequence is we lose money, so be it. In other words, Tesla shares haven't lost money yet. Twitter may be a different story, but there's not that much pressure being exerted here yet, is there?
No, we're not seeing that in the short term. Absolutely. And the price, those shares are up over 100% this year. What we have concerns about are the long term. And Tesla, if you think about its assets, one is the brand that we've already mentioned. The other are its people and its employees. And so the ability to attract, hire, promote, and retain top talent is the key to Tesla's future. And there are many that are not going to want to work for an erratic CEO that has this type of behavior. So we do have concerns about how they're also on the consumer side, they need to sell those cars. And there are many saying we don't want to be associated with that brand at this time.
Americus, let's turn to the IBM pulling its advertising money from the platform, which didn't directly have anything to do with the tweet or the X or whatever you call it now, that Musk placed there, but rather with the proximity of IBM's advertising to other postings that either embrace pro-Nazi or other kind of hateful speech. What are companies to do when? And it was not just IBM whose ads were near this kind of content. It included Apple. It included our parent company Comcast as well.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, Tyler. I think Kristin just made the point that the brand is an asset. The people are part of the brand. The people inside the organization are important linchpins in terms of making the company successful. So this kind of thing, guilt by association, is powerful, because if you're not coming out and making a stand against this kind of stuff, and or you're appearing adjacently to this kind of stuff, like you were saying, Tyler, as a function of an algorithm that who knows how it's working, you're in harm's way. And so this is the kind of thing that smart companies will say, you know what, this is way too divisive, way too important of an issue to allow ourselves to be pulled into kind of a chaotic respond now, because now you're in the hornet's nest sort of approach. So I think a lot of companies are going to say, hey, listen, we got to have some kind of guarantee that when we can collaborate, when we connect, when we co-partner with folks, their values and the types of things they're willing to say that represent what they stand for is got to be in alignment with what we think our brand stands for.